What should I cook first? I get that question all the time, so I'm going to share my top 5 first cooks that I recommend for your brand new Kamado Joe. Let's get started. Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue, and welcome to today's video, which is all about answering the question, what should I cook first? Now that's a big question, but I put today's list together in order of what I think will surprise and delight you, as well as help build a foundation of skills and confidence that you need to tackle bigger and more complex cooks. Now, if you are already a novice pitmaster to some expert level skills, go ahead and check out some of my playlists down below, as there are some more advanced things for you to learn how to use your Kamado Joe to its maximum potential. But if you're just getting started out, I have a complete Kamado Joe 101 playlist, which will help get you up and running in no time. Today's video, though, is all about the proteins and the order that I suggest you tackle them first if you've got yourself a brand new grill. Let's get started with number 1. So the recommendation I have for your very first cook is chicken. Now, why chicken? You might say, go straight for brisket. This is all about building those sequential skills. And so chicken is the perfect cook for a couple reasons. First, it's short. We're gonna have this cook done in under an hour. And so you're not gonna run into any of that learning curve of how you need to set up your grill for a long, low, slow cook. When you're ready, check out that KJ 101 playlist that I have, and there's a video on there that'll show you how to build your fires for hassle-free, low and slow, but we're not doing that today. So it's quick, it's easy to control the temperature, and the flavor is just amazing. And so this was actually my first cook on a Kamado style grill. If you haven't heard this story before, I've been waiting for my propane grill to die that we got as a wedding gift. Took about 8 years, and I went out and bought, of course, another propane grill. And then I was at a friend's cottage who had a Kamado, and I cooked something as simple as a frozen chicken breast, and I was blown away by the flavor, the moisture retention, and just that charcoal taste. And I've been hooked ever since for over a decade now of learning how to master a Kamado style grill. And I'm so glad that you're along for the journey. But chicken is one of those just wow foods. If you've never had it cooked on a Kamado Joe, it's got to be consideration for your very first cook. Now, how would you do it? Now, as I've played with the Kamado Joe lineup and accessories more, the Jotisserie has become one of my favorite accessories along with the soapstone, but I'm assuming that you've just got the grill and want to learn how to use it out of the box. So out of the box, my recommendation would be to do a Spatchcock Chicken. If you've never heard this, it's just removing the backbone. I've got a couple of videos that'll show you how to do that. Lay the bird out flat and go ahead and add your seasoning. If you can, plan ahead and salt the bird. I like to call this dry brining for 24 hours ahead of time. So don't use any table salt. You want to use Diamond kosher crystal salt here. It's the least salty salt, but it adds all the benefits. And those benefits include helping penetrate deep into the meat so you get a nice flavor, moisture retention properties that salt helps add, as well as drying out your skin. So when that's in the fridge uncovered with the salt, it'll extract some moisture, which will help get you an incredible crispy skin that comes out almost deep fried. You want to make sure that you have heat in your dome and you install your grids as high as you can for 2 reasons. 1, you'll help protect the bottom from being exposed to that fire. And 2, the Kamado grill has 3 heat sources. You want to use that 3rd heat source, which is radiant heat in your dome, helping render out that chicken fat and give you an incredible skin that you'll just absolutely love. You're gonna love this one. Let's move on to my second recommendation. Okay, so you've mastered chicken. The next thing we're gonna do is beef, and I love a big, thick ribeye. And so if you can go ahead and find a tomahawk or a ribeye, this is going to be an awesome next level cook for you. So we're gonna introduce 2 skills here. We're gonna do the reverse sear. So you're gonna set up your Kamado Joe for a low and slow cook and reverse sear this steak. Now again, it's easy to over smoke things, so I don't suggest adding smoking wood right away, but you want to set up your grill to run at about 250 to 270 degrees Fahrenheit and cook that steak until an internal temperature of anywhere between 114 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's not quite done, but it's going to continue to carry over cook while you set up for inferno mode. So to get those vent settings, you'd be about one finger on the bottom and just past the first line on your control tower top. That should be about 250 to 270 degrees on a classic 3 as well as a Big Joe 3. And if you can, give yourself the data. I like to use the meter probe, but you can use any sort of tracking digital thermometer that you have to make sure that you're approaching that finish time temperature. Depending on the thickness and the size of your steak, count on anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes, depending again on the size, the thickness of the steak that you've picked up. Now for the best part, set that aside and go ahead, open up your vents, remove those heat deflectors if you've got something in there, and drop a grid down low. If you have an accessory like the soapstone, that's my absolute favorite surface for an amazing sear. But if you've got cast iron or even just the stock grid, this is going to turn out great. So wait until you see anywhere between 600 to 700 degrees Fahrenheit on your dome thermometer, and you are ready for inferno mode grilling. So go ahead with some tongs and maybe even some high heat gloves so you don't end up burning your hands or forearms. But you're going to only want to sear this for 20 to 30 seconds top per side. So give it a sear on side one, flip, repeat, rotate it 45 degrees, and then flip again, all at about the 20 to 30 second mark. And that is going to give you a perfect Maillard reaction in an incredible crust. Now you can go a little bit longer depending on how the steak looks, but we don't want to burn those seasonings and eat char, but we do want to get a great crust. And this reverse sear method gives you something that comes out a lot like sous vide, where you have edge to edge, medium rare with a perfect crust. I have a 5-layer flavor crust video you want to check out for more details on this, but you'll absolutely love it. And we've introduced 2 skills here, some low and slow and switching to direct hot and fast. Let's move on to cook number 3. All right, on to our third cook. I hope that chicken and steak cooks went perfectly. If you're watching this again after following along doing a few of these, let me know in the comments how they turned out. I love to hear your success stories. So for our third cook, we're going to do our first low and slow cook for a longer period of time. So go ahead and get yourself some baby back ribs or some St. Louis cut ribs. Our family just likes baby backs a touch more, but we're going to do some ribs. Now the method that I found works best on a Kamado Joe style grill is hotter and faster. I even did side by side, low and slow, 6-hour ribs versus hot and fast 3-hour ribs. And if you haven't seen that video, just plug your ears for a second. Spoiler alert, hot and fast was much better. Now that's because, again, I mentioned in our cook number 2, there's 3 heat sources. We have our conduction heat, which is meat touching a surface. We have convection, which is moving air around. And then we have our radiant heat, which is unique, or I guess more enhanced in a Kamado style grill than some other grills. But while the radiant heat is more enhanced, the convection heat is a little bit more reduced. These are very energy efficient cookers, so they're not moving as much air. And so that's why you want to make sure that you unlock all 3 sources in order to get the best result. And for ribs, the best result comes in at about 250 to 270 degrees Fahrenheit. Much lower than that, say 225, which you can absolutely do. You're just not moving as much air in order to get a great smoke ring and great smoke flavor, which comes from nice, clean combustion. And so my favorite method here is to go ahead and set up for your first 2 hours at about 270 degrees Fahrenheit and let those ribs just absorb some smoke, set your bark. And then for the last hour, I flip them upside down in a foil pouch with a little apple cider vinegar. Now I like to add a little bit of fat onto the bones, whether you use some melted butter or some mayonnaise, both work just as well. So whatever more convenient for you, I like to put a little bit of that on the bones. That's just going to help render back down in and soften the bottom if we got a little bit of a thicker bark going on there. It'll give us a great bite mouth feel when these are all said and done. Another hour, just leave them be at 270 degrees Fahrenheit. And when you're all done, remove the foil And now you can go ahead and add your favorite sauce. If you're a dry rub person, just leave them back on the grill for another 10-15 minutes to let the moisture from the foil pack dry out and get your dry rib. And then if you're a sauce person, that 10-15 minutes is more than enough for the sauce to tack up. You don't want to be over glazing the ribs with the sauce because the sauce will really absorb smoke. And so you can easily go too far and start to add a bit of a bitter flavor if you leave that sauce on too long. So 10-15 minutes is more than enough. So 3 hours and 15 minutes or so here is your first low and slow cook in the books. Let's move on to my fourth cook recommendation. Okay, so for our fourth cook, we're doing the opposite of low and slow. We're going inferno mode here. Now, you do need an extra accessory for this, and I'm hoping you have one, or you maybe have one that you can borrow. But this is pizza. Now, one of the things that makes the Kamado Joe such a versatile grill, I use the analogy, it's like the SUV of grills, because you can do a little bit of everything. You want to have a comfortable cruiser, no problem. You want to go off-roading, no problem. You want a sporty model, they have those too. It allows you to do everything and do a pretty darn good job at it. And so what we're going to do for our fourth cook is pizza. Now, I'm not going to assume that you've got the accessories here like the Dojo, but you can turn out an amazing wood-fired pizza without it. So what you want to go ahead and do for this is install your deflector plates on the second level. Again, if you're using the Series 3 Divide and Conquer rack. And I like to leave those open, ironically, in a pizza shape until the dome is really, really hot. And we want our dome to be heat soaked, so it's giving us radiant heat, which is gonna act like a bit of a broiler. That's how we're gonna cook the top of our pizza. And so I like to leave those installed until I see after 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we'll go ahead and use our high heat gloves to push those together. Now we're going to drop in our pizza stone and let the grill come back up to 600 to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. This is going to be the perfect temperature for pizza in under 3 minutes. And so I definitely recommend making your own dough here. Just don't go and throw a frozen pizza on, it'll burn. Now, a couple of troubleshooting tips. If you end up burning the bottom of your pizza and you're not getting the top, one of the things that you can do is get an old dish rag, soak that in some hot water, and just cool the stone down before installing it. And that helps balance your stone temperature with the dome temperature so they cook completely even. The only reason that would happen is if we just left this unattended, say for 40 minutes or so at 700 degrees, that stone would overheat to the point where it's almost going to instantly burn. Now, you can get really fancy with your dough hydration and overcome that, but since this is our fourth cook, I assume that is all next level skill. So if you're running into some burning problems, just go ahead and cool your stone and you'll be ready to go. You can always keep an eye on things, which is why checking at about the 30-second mark, see if you need to rotate it, or if it is starting to burn, take that off, cool it, put it back on, and you'll be all set. So where do we go for our fifth and final cook? Okay, so our last step in our graduated licensing to getting your Kamado Joe pitmaster license here is going to be another low and slow cook, and we're going to do pulled pork. So I recommend pulled pork. A lot of you are asking, give me the brisket. But pulled pork is a great learning cook. One, you can make that, a 6 to 8 hour cook. It's going to help you understand how to control your temperatures throughout the entire day. Plus, it's really forgiving compared to a brisket. If you do have some temperature fluctuations, down to 200 degrees, up to 300 degrees, and everywhere in between, pulled pork is your friend and it will be very forgiving. And so to try and avoid that though, go ahead and set up your grill for an indirect cook. I like to do, again, one finger on the bottom and just past that first line here on the Kontrol Tower top. That'll be about 270 degrees. And we want to go ahead and just let this hang out in some smoke until our bark is set. Now, the nice thing about pulled pork is you can help modulate the time based off of where it's at. So if you do need to wrap it in foil and maybe add a little apple cider vinegar, that will gain about 20 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1 hour. So that's handy information. If you're at, say, 160 degrees Fahrenheit at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you know you want to eat by 6, you could go ahead and wrap it, gain that 40 degrees in about 2 hours, and that would still give you time to rest this pulled pork for an hour before you want to shred into it and serve it. I have a lot more on that in some of my other videos, especially the ones dedicated to pulled pork. You can go ahead and check that out. But that's it for today's top 5. Each one is, again, helping you learn some of the nuances of your grill, whether it's at a low and slow temperature like pulled pork, really hot like pizza, or something that does a bit of both like a reverse seared ribeye. This is going to give you the confidence and start to learn what you like and your smoke profiles that you can adjust from there. No bigger mistake I've made it, and so many people make, is they go straight for the crown jewel brisket. They throw a bunch of smoking wood in there, and their family members don't like the taste. It's dry, it's overdone, and it shakes your confidence. And so much of this is just about feeling confident and comfortable with your grill. And so when you're done these 5 cooks, you're going to have the skills that you need to tackle whatever you want to cook next. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I wish you luck. Do let me know how it goes. I can't wait to hear in the comments down below. But until next time, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue signing off. And remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.